So, is the brand new 2024 Harley Davidson Road Glide CVO ST, that's a long name, is it faster than Mad Max? That is one of the questions that I got a lot in the past couple videos that I put out about the Road Glide CVO ST. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you guys haven't checked out my first ride review, I'm the only one to have a first ride and review video on the brand new 2024 Harley Davidson Road Glide CVO ST. Definitely go back into the videos, check it out. It was posted a couple days ago. I also have a nice video with Kyle Wyman, short little interview video, as well as kind of a video showing the 2 days when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, just kind of recording the behind the scenes aspect of when they were making the reveal commercial with Kyle Wyman and James Rispoli there in Charlotte. So it's pretty interesting if you guys kind of like that type of stuff. But I've been posting a couple videos on the brand new Road Glide CVO ST, as well as across all of social media platforms. I'm sure you've seen it somewhere. There's been a lot of questions, but I think almost the number one question that I got is, number one, is the CVO ST faster than Mad Max? Are the brakes better? Is the suspension better? Hey John, are you going to be trading in or getting rid of Mad Max to get a new CVO ST? If you guys been watching me for a long time, I like what I like, and if I don't like it, I just don't like it. I won't tell you guys that I like something and I really don't, or tell you guys, hey, this works if it really doesn't. But when I told you guys in the videos and in all those clips I posted on social media that I love the bike, I'm telling you, man, I love that bike. And after coming back home and thinking about it for the past couple weeks, because I actually recorded that about 3 months ago, back in November. So yeah, I've been keeping all of that information, obviously a top secret. So has Two Lane Life with the CVO reveal, and so has Just GQ and Blockhead with the Road Glide and Street Glide standard first ride review videos. Obviously, we can't tell you guys about it. That's just how these things work. If Harley Davidson is, allowing us and giving us the honor and privilege to bringing us along on this ride and to having a exclusive first look and first ride video on these motorcycles, they are trusting us with this information. Not to mention, if we do spill the beans or something like that, I'm sure there'll be a bunch of lawyers at the doorstep knocking at my door. But you get the point, guys. You got to keep it quiet. It is what it is. It goes with the territory. So I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings keeping this information from you. But anyway, let's go over what I think on the bike. So if you guys are new to this channel, this is Mad Max. So this is my 2022 Road Glide. I always call it, come on, performance bagger, because she is. It's purposefully built with all of the performance bagger aspects to the bike. So meaning front T-bar setup, risers, ODI bar, fully adjustable suspension +2. It's 2 inches taller in the front, 2 inches taller in the back. The whole bike sits 2 inches taller than a stock Harley Davidson. I wanted it that way because it actually raises the bike, the frame off of the ground. I get more ground clearance, especially around turns, because I like to take my twisties. So this is a GP suspension in the front. We have Legend suspension in the back, fully adjustable front and back. The brakes, I have stock calipers with Lindell rotors. I also have, as you guys can see, the BST carbon wheels. So we have, everything is upgraded to this bike. Every single possible thing, I think, except the transmission, which is stock, and it's absolutely fine. We have a built 128 stage 4, putting out almost 150 horsepower. We got heavy duty Evolution Industries clutch system and hardened ramp, Trask chain drive. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Arlen Ness, mid controls, ultra cool secondary oil cooler with double fans to keep this thing running cool. Like I said, this thing is purposefully built. I built this bike because I had a purpose. I had a set goal in mind as to how I like to ride, how quick I wanted it to be, how well the bike handles, how well the comfort levels, the ergonomics with the mid controls, so on and so on. You get the point. Let's answer some of your questions because I'm sure you guys are interested. Sorry about that. I'm sure you guys are interested in knowing how I feel about it. So let's answer the first question. Is this motorcycle, is Mad Max, okay, is Mad Max faster than the CVO ST, the brand new CVO ST? Of course it is. So if you guys understand, the new CVO ST has 127 horsepower, 145 foot-pounds of torque. But that is at the engine. That is not rear wheel horsepower. Harley Davidson never and doesn't give you wheel horsepower. They give you basically brake horsepower. That's at the crank. So what I'm running here at the wheel is 145 horsepower. So they have brake horsepower on the CVO ST at 127. So if you figure you lose like 10% to 12% through the drivetrain, the transmission, the drivetrain, everything, right? You lose that percentage of horsepower. So if it was about 10% to 12%, you're probably looking at the rear wheel, maybe it has about 110, anywhere from 110 to 115 horsepower, I'm gonna say, stock, at the wheel, the new CVO ST. So that is still a 30 horsepower difference, if you guys are with me. It's still, my bike is still a 30 horsepower, bigger, stronger motor at the rear wheel. Also the torque, I have 140, I believe, or 142, I really don't remember, around that area. Let's say 140 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel. The CVO ST has 145 at the crank. So that's actually pretty close. And we'll talk about that more. So if we're talking, say, 10 to 12 horsepower loss through the drivetrain, so you figure it's probably gonna be pushing, I'm gonna say around 130 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel. That is very close. So my bike actually has more horsepower and a little less torque because I like to ride in the higher RPM range. So that's the type of cam that I went with. I went with more of a high RPM power cam. So I have the 3/4 star racing cam. So what Harley did was their horsepower is at 127, their torque is at 145. The cam they're using, I'm assuming it's more of a torque cam. And that's great because I'm telling you, the bike is fast, a lot of torque, because if you didn't see the video, go back and check it out. I am literally cranking the throttle full, 5th gear on the highway, and that thing literally is pulling really hard. But having said all of that, is Mad Max faster? Of course it is. It's not even going to be close because we're talking, like I said, 30 more horsepower than the stock CVO ST. And we're probably talking maybe, I'm going to say 10 to 15 foot-pounds of torque more. So the speed is definitely not a question. Mad Max is still faster. Okay, another thing is I have stock gearing in the back, which is right there, the rear sprocket. I got a chain drive. I chose to keep it stock. I could have went with a bigger sprocket in the back. That would have gave me a lot more takeoff speed. But I didn't want that because then it's kind of going to be bad if you're doing long trips, which I do on the bike. Your gas mileage is gonna go to crap, right? So I believe they did change the rear sprocket size, I think from a 32 to a 30 or 30 to 32, I forgot. something like that on the CVO. So that made a difference as far as acceleration in every single gear. Another thing huge on my bike, which I just did, were these carbon fiber BST wheels. Absolutely insane difference with the carbon BST wheels. And I'm not even joking when I tell you it's probably going from the stock wheels to the BST wheels. I'm gonna say it feels like in the butt dyno, it feels probably a good anywhere from 10 to 20 horsepower. It's incredible. It's incredible how much performance you gain just from a set of carbon wheels. Costly? Yes. Expensive? Yes. Do you get is the gains worth it? Absolutely. If you have 5-6 grand laying around, burning a hole in your pocket, and you want your bagger to be a little quicker, to handle better, to be lighter, to come in and out of turns easier, absolutely. The BST carbon wheels is probably one of the biggest differences, the biggest upgrades that I have noticed on my bike. Obviously the engine going from a 107, because this is a 2022 107 standard, right? When I bought it with the chrome finishes, it was a 107. Putting out on a dyno like 70 something horsepower. That's at the wheel, right? And we doubled the horsepower. We literally doubled the horsepower when we went to the 128. You know, with the BST carbon wheels, this is the second biggest upgrade that I've noticed. One being the engine when I did it. Number two being the BST carbon wheels. Absolutely insane how different the bike maneuvers, handles. As soon as you hit that gas, the bike just feels like it just wants to like rip your arms out of your socket because there's less rotating mass. So those wheels just want to go, right? Braking is better as well because you're not trying to stop all that rotating mass. And then obviously, if you guys understand gyroscopic effect with a lighter wheel, and I saved, it was like 15 pounds for both wheels, weight savings, there is less gyroscopic effect, meaning that when you turn or lean your bike in and out of a turn, it feels literally not really like a dirt bike, but you get my point. It feels much lighter. So I think also another thing is I have removed so much weight on this bike. The last time I checked, it was just like a tad bit over 800, maybe 80 something, whatever. But I think with the BST carbon wheels, I'm really curious. I need to weigh the bike. I might be maybe 790 something range, and I'm very curious, so stay tuned for that. I'm very curious to find out what we actually achieved on our final weight. Also, sorry, Banshee lithium battery, 2-in-1 exhaust instead of the 2-in-2, that saves weight. And all of the stuff that I didn't need that I took off. You guys could go back and check the entire build series in that playlist as far as how I put Mad Max together. My favorite Harley Davidson. So to answer your question, no, the new Road Glide CVO ST is not faster than Mad Max, than my bike. But you have to understand, this is purposefully built. This is literally a built motor, 128, stage 4, bigger intake, bigger injectors, way bigger camshaft, aggressive camshaft. We have bigger valves in the heads. The heads are done. So, you know, everything about this motor is purposefully built to get the most amount of power. So having said that, if you were to take the 121 that's in the CVO ST model, because it is non-VVT, there goes that thing where there might be a problem as far as the tuners, dyno tuning the bike. That's gone. There is no problem now because there is no VVT you have to worry about. So now you slap, it's an M8, you slap a nice cam in that, you are literally going to be pretty close if you do a couple more things to that motor, like injectors and injectors, intake, maybe some head work. You're going to be very close to these power levels, okay? So that's why that platform is really good if you already, if you already know that you want that bike with the 121 and you're going to be doing some work to it, right? That's if you're going to be doing some work to it. Fantastic motor. It's not the 117, it's a 121. So from 121 to 128, if you had both two similar motors as far as same heads, intake, injectors, you're probably only going to squeeze a few more horsepower out of a 128 than you would out of a 121. So excellent platform to start with. So like I said before, this is another thing where I saved a lot of weight. That's what also makes it faster. But the CVO ST is at 800 pounds. So I'll just say this, guys. I rode the bike for a while. I'll be riding it again soon here. And what I'm gonna tell you is this. That bike is phenomenally fast for an off the showroom floor Harley Davidson bagger, by far the best bagger that Harley has produced. Now, the standard CVO is fantastic as well, but if you are on the performance aspect of the spectrum, if that's what you guys like, Road Glide CVO ST is your bike. It has it all. So now, I guess we're done talking about that. Mad Max is faster. Let's talk about the suspension. That's another thing. A lot of people are asking me, how can you compare my bike suspension to the CVO ST suspension? I'll be honest, even though this suspension front and back is upgraded and it's +2, the suspension on my bike is a lot more stiffer. I didn't obviously play with that suspension. That suspension on the CVO, the Showa, on the front and back is fully adjustable. So I wasn't there playing around with the settings and stuff. You could definitely set it up so it's even better than I rode it. And when I did ride the bike, the suspension is fantastic. Another great point is that the CVO ST has an inverted fork. This does not. So if you guys don't understand, this might be a lengthy video and I apologize about it, guys, but I just wanted to kind of give you kind of the rundown if you guys are looking to get that bike or just trying to figure things out. This suspension is not an inverted fork. This suspension is like your standard fork. You got the fork tubes and then you have the lowers. So what happens is these fork tubes obviously slide in and out of this lower leg. But when you're riding, okay, when you're riding on the road and you're hitting them bumps, the wheel hits those bumps, right? The imperfections in the road, that transfers to the axle. That axle pushes these two lower legs up and into the fork tubes. So the bike doesn't go in, like if you could understand, the bike doesn't actually move. What's hitting and moving is the wheel. The wheel is forcing these lowers up and down, in and out of these fork tubes. So what happens is there is a lot of weight here, right? There's a lot of weight here. That's why on an inverted fork where the entire leg, right, the heavy part is up on the top, and that does not move now. But on this setup, this lower leg portion is the heaviest portion. This is what moves up and down, which is actually less effective. And that's why this type of system is not good, because you have more weight and more mass, and it takes so much more work for the suspension cartridges inside of these tubes to try to keep that wheel and tire on the ground, planted, so this way you get great handling. So that's why an inverted fork is just so much better. This suspension is much stiffer. If I was able to stiffen up the suspension on the CVO ST, I think it would be, I'm gonna say, I think it would be comparable, right? I think it would be comparable. The suspension on the CVO ST is phenomenal for, again, a stock motorcycle off the showroom floor without doing any modifications to it. It's phenomenal. And like I said in the video, it could even be better once it's fine-tuned, because it's fully adjustable, meaning compression, rebound, front and back, and the preload. So it's a great system. but it could be better. I would say it is comparable. I'll just say it's comparable. Another big question I got, how is the braking? And this is probably one of the easiest ones to answer. Very simple. Not a 320 millimeter rotor. On the CVO ST, you have 320 millimeter rotors, which are the size. Let me give you guys an idea. This is gonna be pretty cool, so I show you guys. So this is my Duke 890R right here. So this 320 millimeter rotor is about 12, let me see. It's about 12 3/4 of an inch, right? So look at the size difference, okay? You see where 12 3/4 is? Let me show you. This rotor, stock rotor, is only 11.5. So at 320 millimeters, what is on the CVO Road Glide ST models, you're getting over an inch or a little over bigger size of a rotor. So the rotor on the ST is bigger. That's number one. Number two, okay, is that these are only 2 piston calipers, whereas the setup on the CVO ST is a Brembo caliper, which, listen, I don't have to sell anybody on Brembo. Probably, if not the best caliper in the world. This one, to give you an idea, this is a Brembo Stylema caliper, probably the best, if not the best caliper that you could possibly get. This is only like a $13,000 bike. It has Brembo Stylema calipers. The most expensive super bikes in the world, coming in at 60, 70, 80 grand, have the same calipers, the Brembo Stylema. Fantastic calipers, probably the best. So yeah, let's forget about that. But going back to the Road Glide, the Brembo calipers are 4-piston that are on the CVO ST. So how do the brakes compare? You can't compare it. The brakes on the CVO ST, phenomenal stopping power, phenomenal. You can't compare it to this. So it's zero comparison. The brakes on the ST are, without a doubt, phenomenally better. The braking is fantastic. Hopefully that answers your question. The back rotor on the ST is not a wave rotor, but that doesn't matter because like 90%, 95% of all the braking happens in the front. And also on the CVO ST, you have a linked brake system. So that works in conjunction when you hit the front brake. For instance, I'm just giving you examples, 90 or 80% of the power goes to the front, and then through a diverter shoots the hydraulic pressure to the back. Also gives you some braking power in the back without even applying the rear brake. So that helps the motorcycle stop better. So I'm gonna say definitely a check mark for the CVO ST for the braking system. Okay, so what I will say about the brand new 2024 Harley Davidson Road Glide CVO ST is, for the money, they're coming in at around $43,000 at our local dealership over here, right? So coming in at $43,000, this is, again, my opinion, for how the bike looks, what you get, the braking, the suspension, the T-bar setup, and the looks. The looks are just killer. We'll talk about that in a second. For 43 grand, you do not have to do anything to that bike for you to just enjoy it. You don't have to change the brakes. You don't have to change the suspension, the T-bar setup. Nothing. You don't have to do anything to that bike. I would just throw on some more Custom Dynamics LED lighting on that thing. Maybe throw a different seat, a Saddleman seat on there. Throw a Clockworks windshield. Maybe get some highway pegs for it. Maybe some handguards, Memphis Shades handguards, stuff like that. Little stuff. But the big stuff is already taken care of for you. So if you buy, say, a standard, this is just how I'm looking at it now, you know. if you buy a standard for 28, right, I guess, to get it to the level, okay, to get it to the level of the Road Glide CVO ST, we're only talking, say, about $15,000 difference. To get it to that level, you are going to spend at least $15,000 to even get it to that level, or might not even get it to that level. So if you're on the fence about buying a standard now, because there is no more specials, there is no more regular STs, there's only standards, Road Glide CVO ST, and obviously the Road Glide CVO. So if you're on the fence, I would just go with the ST. I would just go with the ST, because you don't have to do nothing with it, and you got a warranty, right? And I might have actually, I might have answered these questions differently, and I think I did in the past, because we didn't have the CVO ST model. It just came out. Now, it just threw a monkey wrench into, I believe, how everybody sees it. But I got a lot of comments saying, oh, 43,000, that's way too much. But then I'll click on their page to the person who's commenting, and that person's got a bagger, say a 21, 22 Road Glide, and it's a performance bagger, and he's probably dropped $40,000 into it. So I'm like, that comment that he just said, it really doesn't make any sense. Because if he purchased that motorcycle for 25, 26, 28,000, he's probably got 30, 40,000 invested into it. So he probably spent 70 grand, but yet they'll complain about a $43,000 bike that has a warranty and that you pretty much primarily do not have to do anything to it. That just blows my mind. Guys, you got to think about it that way, right? I think a lot of people tend to forget, because they buy the motorcycle, right? They buy the motorcycle on loan, right? That's what happens. They buy the motorcycle on loan and they have a payment, but then they'll pay for the parts because they have to, or maybe they use their credit card, whatever, but then they'll pay for the parts, and they'll always say, I'm not buying that $43,000 CVO, or I'm not buying that $48,000 CVO. That's way too much money. Who would ever imagine spending that much on a bike? You guys know, just like I do, look at this bike. How much you think is invested in this bike, right? How much you think, if you go to a rally, Daytona, take a look around, how many bikes you see like this, how much you think they got invested? 28, 26 into the bike, just the bike. And then I'm telling you, 40, 50, 60, some $70,000 extra on top of the motorcycle. You could buy two CVOs, two CVOs for that price. So do you follow what I'm saying? That's why when someone says to me, that's way too much money for a bike, it just doesn't ring a bell with me. It just doesn't make any sense. Unless you're like me and you want everything purposefully built, then yeah, you're gonna have to go that route. But you can't really say, oh, that's too much for a bike, when you just bought your standard or your special for 30 grand and then you dumped 50 grand into it with zero warranty, right? I would say if you're gonna go that route, just get the ST and call it a day, man, because that bike is amazing. Has it all. You don't have to do anything to it. Phenomenal, phenomenal machine. I was so impressed with the power, the handling, the braking. And let's talk about the last thing right now. That bike, right? That bike, the body style. So it's funny because just about 8 months ago, when me and Rob did the reveal commercial for the regular CVOs that came out with the new body style, a lot of people were hating on it, saying it looked like Indian, which is total crap. And, they were saying that they didn't like it. I don't know what the reasoning is, whatever it is. A lot of times it takes people a little bit longer to kind of warm up to it. You know what I mean? I'm a little different in that way. I know my boy Rob is different in that way. We love technology, and we love when the new innovation comes into play, because you have to follow along with the times. You can't just keep the same look for year after year after year when other manufacturers are bringing in TFT displays, big TFT color displays, or bringing in the technology, or changing up and streamlining the fairing, the tank, the bags, the fenders. You have to move with the times. Otherwise, the times will just blow by you and you're gone. They have to move forward with the times. And what happens usually is, after some time, like we could be talking, say in 2 years, everybody's gonna love the new body design and no one's even gonna remember about the old. And then they're not even gonna like the old, they're just gonna like the new. That's just how it is. That's how everybody's brain works. Yeah, the looks on the CVO ST are amazing. The whole bike looks beautiful. Riding is fantastic. If I were you guys, definitely head on over and check it out. But now, the $1 million question. The $1 million question. And this question I got a lot. John, are you going to get rid of Mad Max? John, are you going to trade Mad Max in? John, is it time for a Road Glide CVO ST? And the answer is, I don't know. I still don't know. But I will tell you one thing, that eventually the old body style is going to basically become obsolete. After a couple years, nobody is going to want this old body style. Let me ask you guys this question. If you guys are looking for a used Harley Davidson, particularly a bagger, the Road Glide, are you looking at the previous generation to this one, to the previous models with the older body design? I'm not. I don't think you guys are. So now what's going to happen in 2 years, or even maybe in 1 year, or even maybe now? Already it could possibly be happening. If you're looking for a used bike, are you going to be looking for this model, or do you want the new model? So that's the thing that I'm going to be debating and thinking about and contemplating. You know, do we stick with Mad Max? Do we go to the new body design and you know, start over, especially for content for you guys? I don't know right now. I promise you guys, in the next probably couple months, I will make a decision and I will let you guys know. But either way, whether Mad Max is going to stay on the channel, she's a badass bike, or whether we get something else, you know that's going to be badass. That's all I could tell you for right now. But I will definitely give you guys an answer. I have some other things that I have to wait on to make some decisions on, and we'll see what happens. But either way, it's going to be badass. If you guys have any questions about the CVO ST, if I didn't cover something, then hit me up in the comments. Definitely check out this video right here, the ride video, the first ride video. You guys will be able to see the bike all around. And make sure to hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys. Peace out.